Thomas Markle was a dad who had to do everything by himself. When Meghan was just a teenager, her mother was not there to help. This means Thomas had to be both a dad and a mom for her. He stayed with her every single day. He made sure she had what she needed to grow up. Many people say that Meghan and her dad were very, very close when she was a little girl. They spent a lot of time together. Even though every family has things they keep quiet, this family is very different. Usually, families talk to each other about their problems. But in this story, 3 different people are telling the same exact story. These people are the father, the mother, and the sister. They do not even talk to each other. They do not have a group chat on their phones. They do not plan what to say. But they all say the same things. This makes the version of Meghan that the world sees look very different. It is like a mirror that has been cracked. You should stay and listen to the whole thing because it is very interesting. Please remember to click the subscribe button and hit the bell so you can see more of our videos. Also, like this video to help us out. Before Meghan was a famous star, she was just a regular girl with a dad. This was a long time before she walked on red carpets or was in big magazines. She did not have huge deals with Netflix back then. She just had a dad named Thomas. He was a regular man who worked hard every day. He showed up for her all the time. He gave her everything he had so she could have a good life. He wanted her to have a real chance to be whatever she wanted to be. He was not a dad who only visited sometimes. He was there for the big things and the little things. He even helped her with her dreams of being an actress in Hollywood. He made very big sacrifices that were very painful. He did this so his daughter could have chances that he never got to have himself. He even gave up his own job and his career so she could start hers. For a very long time, that was how they lived. He gave everything he had, and she grew up to be famous. One day, everyone in the whole world knew her name. Most parents would think this was a great thing. They would be proud of their child forever. Thomas did all of that for her. But then, things started to fall apart. After the big royal wedding, things changed in a very sad way. The wedding was the biggest day of Meghan's life. It was also the day that Thomas had been waiting for after all his hard work. But suddenly, talking to his own daughter became almost impossible. He says this was not his fault. He says it was all her choice. He says he is a good person and he tried his best. It was not just that life was busy. It was not just that people grew apart because they were living in different places. It was much deeper than that. Trying to call her on the phone was like trying to get through a giant wall. He had to talk to many helpers and assistants first. Think about how that feels. You want to talk to your own child that you raised since she was a baby, but you have to ask strangers for permission. And even when you ask, she does not always call back. Most of the time, he got no answer at all. There were no big, loud fights. There were no mean words said to each other's faces. There was just a lot of silence. It was like a big, empty hole where a real family relationship used to be. That kind of silence is a message all by itself. It tells you exactly where you stand. It says you are not invited anymore. Thomas paid for his daughter's schools and helped her get into the movie world. He used to tell everyone how proud he was of her. He called her his pride and joy. But now, there is a big difference between what people see and what is real. While Thomas was trying to talk to her, she was on TV saying very nice things. She talked about being thankful and how much family means to her. She talked about how family bonds are very important. People who watched her loved it. They thought she sounded like a very kind and loving person. But Thomas says that was not the truth. He says all that warmth was just for the cameras. He says she was just acting so the world would like her. He claims that behind closed doors, she was not being a loving daughter at all. He says it was all a performance that was very polished. It was so good that nobody from the outside could tell it was not real. This makes the story feel very uncomfortable. It is not like a big explosion. It is just a dad picking up the phone and hearing nothing. He sacrificed his whole life for her, but now she treats him like a stranger. He has to deal with security guards just to try to say hello. Being erased from someone's life slowly is very hard to handle. Before the wedding even started, Thomas became a huge news story. He did not want this to happen. He was not trying to be famous. He was not trying to take the spotlight away from his daughter. The people who write the news just decided that he was going to be the main character. Think about how scary that is. You are a private person who lives a quiet life. Then, suddenly, everyone is following you. They follow you to the coffee shop. They follow you when you go to the store. Every time you walk out your front door, there is someone with a big camera waiting for you. The people who work for Meghan were very good at handling the news. They had lots of money and big teams, but they did not help Thomas at all. They did not give him any advice. They did not protect him. So, when someone came to him with a plan to help him look better, he listened. He wanted to feel like he had some control. But this is where things got very messy. People found a video that showed Thomas working with a photographer. They took pictures together that were not real. They were staged to look like he was getting ready for the wedding. They showed him reading about England and getting a suit. They looked like nice pictures, but they were a trick. When people found out the photos were fake, everything changed. Thomas was no longer seen as a nice dad. Now, people called him a liability. That is a big word that means someone who might cause trouble or embarrassment. People felt like they could not trust him anymore. He had given the news a story that made the royal family feel very uncomfortable. The bad advice he took did the opposite of what he wanted. It gave the people around Meghan a reason to stop talking to him completely. They used it as an excuse to shut the door on him. But Thomas says he was in a very bad spot long before those photos. He was being chased by reporters every single day. He says he was getting no help or support from his daughter or her team. For a man who had lived a quiet life, this was very confusing. It does not make his choice right, but it shows why he was so stressed. Then, right before the wedding, he had a heart attack. His body just could not handle the stress anymore. He was in the hospital instead of at the wedding. This was the one day that mattered most to him, and he spent it in a hospital bed. He was born 40 years ago, and he was there when Meghan was born too. But during his heart attack, there was only silence from her. No calls came in. No private messages were sent. The phone stayed still. It felt like a door was being closed forever. The wedding happened, and Thomas was not there. The silence that followed was not just a private thing anymore. It became very public. Not long after the wedding, some of Meghan's friends talked to a big magazine. They said Meghan had written a very personal letter to her dad. They said it was a sad plea for him to stop talking to the press. They made her look like the one who was hurt. They said she was a daughter who was desperate to talk to her father, but he was ignoring her. Many people believed this story, but Thomas did not believe it. He had the letter in his hand. He felt like the way they described it to the world was not what the letter really said. So he did something that surprised everyone. He showed parts of the letter to the public. He said he had to do it. He said he had no choice because the stories being told were not true. He felt like staying quiet was like agreeing to a lie. When people read the actual words in the letter, things got even weirder. The tone of the letter was very formal. It did not sound like a daughter talking to her dad from her heart. Every line felt like it was written very carefully for other people to read. Thomas felt very sad. He felt like he was not reading a message from his daughter. He felt like he was reading something made for a big audience. Later on, people found out that Meghan's team had helped write a big book about her life. They had said before that they did not help, but that was not true. This changed how people saw everything. Suddenly, the letter did not seem like a private thing anymore. It felt like part of a plan. It felt like a story that was being shaped for the public to see. This realization really hurt Thomas. Before this, he hoped that the distance between them was just because of the wedding stress. He hoped it could be fixed, but if their private letters were being written for the whole world to see, what was left that was real? Thomas said it out loud. He said he was not talking to his daughter, he was talking to a brand. A brand is like a company or a famous image. He felt like she was using the language of family and love as tools, not because she really felt them. For a man who gave up his career and his privacy for her, this was a very hard thing to learn. It was a realization that you cannot come back from. It makes the heart feel very heavy. If you only watch the news, you might think Doria Ragland has the best relationship with her daughter. Doria is Meghan's mom. She was always there for the big moments. She looked calm and nice. The world liked her because she seemed very dignified. She was the one person who felt truly real. But some people say that behind the scenes, things were different. They say that Doria could not just visit her daughter whenever she wanted. Visits were not easy or casual. They became events that had to be put on a schedule. We are not just talking about being busy. We are talking about a mother who reportedly had to book an appointment to see her own child. She had to go through other people just to get a time to visit. Think about that for a second. The woman who raised her and was there for her whole life had to formally ask to be in the same room. It was like she was a business person making an appointment. This was not because of a big fight. It was just how things worked. Doria was brought in when she was needed for a good photo. She would be there smiling and looking supportive. But when the cameras were gone, she was pushed back again. She was part of the frame, but then she was sidelined. When the Netflix documentary came out, Doria finally spoke on camera. Many people watched very closely, but something felt a little bit off. It did not seem like she was just speaking from her heart. Her words felt like they had been practiced many times. She used specific words that sounded just like the ones Meghan uses. They sounded very polished. People in Hollywood started to whisper about this. They thought Doria's new role in Meghan's company came with rules. They thought she had to say certain things and follow a plan. It was like a loyalty arrangement. It did not seem optional. No one said this was true for sure, but the pattern was hard to miss. Every time Doria spoke or appeared, it was at a time when Meghan's brand needed to look more human. The mother who was always quiet suddenly had a voice. But it only happened when that voice was useful for the company. It felt more like a calendar than a real relationship. It is sad when family becomes part of a business plan. Most people have a friend or a sister from their childhood who remembers everything. For Meghan, that was supposed to be Samantha. They grew up together. They shared a father and a home long before any fame happened. For a while, that history seemed very important. But then, fame arrived. The foundation of their relationship did not just crack, it fell apart. Samantha says it happened slowly. At first, she was invited to things less often. Then their talks got shorter. Then, the talks felt filtered. It was like every conversation had to be checked by a helper first. Her sister did not feel like a person anymore. She felt like a situation that had to be handled. Eventually, Samantha was not even talking to her directly. Everything had to go through other people. It was a full freeze out. It was a deliberate wall between two people who used to live together. Then came the famous Oprah interview. Meghan said she basically grew up as an only child. This was only 6 words, but they hurt Samantha very much. It was like a punch in the stomach. Samantha was at home watching her sister tell the world she did not exist. This was not just a mistake. It was a choice to rewrite history. It was a way to make a cleaner story for the public. Samantha spoke out very loudly about this. She said there was a plan to make her look like a liar. She said the goal was to protect a specific story about where Meghan came from. That story worked better if there was no sister in the background. Official people did not say anything about this. But once Samantha started talking, people started to notice things that did not match up. The perfect story had a crack in it. Now, look at everyone involved. A father, a mother, and a sister. These 3 people do not talk to each other. They do not have a plan together. They have no reason to tell the same story, but they are all saying the same thing. They are not just stories that sound similar. They are the same core story told from different sides. A father who was locked out. A mother who was boxed in. A sister who was erased. It takes a lot for 3 different people to say the same thing without planning it. The easy answer is to say they are just bitter or want money. You could say that about one person, but all 3 of them, they all describe the same pattern. They all felt handled and controlled. They felt used when they were helpful and thrown away when they were not. Being handled means the relationship stops feeling real. It starts feeling like a transaction. A transaction is like buying something at a store. The terms are always set by one side. One side has no say. A father has to go through helpers just to ask for a call. A mother has to book an appointment like a business meeting. A sister has to go through strangers to reach her own sibling. These are 3 different people with the same experience. They were all there before the fame. They were inside the room. They are not people on the outside looking in. They are saying the same thing happened to all of them. When this happens, it is not just gossip anymore. It is something you have to think about very seriously. There are moments in life that should change everything. Tragic news came that Thomas Markle was going to lose his leg. Moments like this are so raw that they should make all the old fights go away. They should leave only one question: are you going to show up? For Thomas, the big moment was when he had a massive stroke. This was not a small scare. It was life-changing. He struggled to speak. He struggled to move. It was in the news everywhere. Everyone knew about it. If you were watching this for a long time, you might have thought this would be the moment things changed. You might have thought there would be no press conference, just a quiet human moment. A moment where someone picks up the phone. A moment where a card is sent or flowers show up at the hospital. A moment where the person behind the famous image shows they care about their dad. But the phone never rang. No private visits happened. No flowers were delivered. No messages were passed through the helpers. There was just the same silence that had been there for years. Only now it was next to a man who could not even speak. This matters more than anything. Everything else could be explained. Fame is hard. Relationships are messy. You can argue about many things. But when a father has a stroke and the daughter does not call, that is hard to explain. It does not fit a story about being kind or finding peace. It is a deliberate choice made in a very sad moment. And the choice was silence. The image of a loving woman who values family was tested in that hospital room. And the image and the reality were two different things. This is not just a story about a family that grew apart. Families do that all the time. This is a pattern. A father who gave up everything is locked out. A mother is on a business schedule. A sister is erased from history. Three people from different places are describing the same thing. Through all the silence and the managed photos, the public was told a different story. The world was told she loved family deeply. That story was very strong. Millions of people believed it because it was told with a lot of heart. But a performance eventually has to face the facts. The fact is a father in a hospital bed with a phone that never rang. The fact is a mother whose love was on a calendar. The fact is a sister watching herself be deleted on TV. The story told to the world was about walking away to protect family. But the people who are her family do not feel protected. They feel sidelined. They feel handled. They feel like the warmth was only for the cameras. It felt like a transaction in private. You can choose not to believe one person. But when all three people say the same thing, the math changes. Fame changes people, but this is a specific kind of change. It is the kind of change where the people who loved you first become props in a story you tell about yourself. If this is the first time you are hearing this, tell us what you think. If you want more stories like this, hit subscribe and turn on the bell. We will see you next time.